Morning, folks. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School. Back out here at the Pathfinder Outdoor Kitchen with my good buddy Zon. How you doing, buddy? What we're going to do today is going to be a little bit of a process. We're going to make a scratch breakfast casserole. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our butter, and we're going to make our buttermilk. So stay with me. We'll get started. Okay. To make our butter and our buttermilk, all we need is heavy whipping cream and a mason jar. And then a second mason jar to pour things off. And maybe some cheesecloth if you want to strain things really nice and form them nice. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Get down, Zon. Don't get up here. So the first thing we need to do, and Zon's loving this heavy whipping cream. Get down, Zon. No, sir. Is we need to fill half this mason jar with heavy whipping cream. And that's good. Now we're going to put the whipping cream back in the cooler. And we're going to put the lid on our mason jar before Zon decides he wants to get up here and have a lash. All right. Once we get that done, all we're going to do is we're going to start shaking this. And we're going to have to shake this for a few minutes. But it's going to form a clump, and it's going to separate the butter from the buttermilk as we go. So we're just going to continue to shake this. And when we feel it start to lump up, we're going to add a pinch of salt. When that starts to happen, I'm going to add a little bit of salt. I'm going to take my lid off here for a minute. I'm going to get myself a little pinch of salt, add it to my butter, go back after it. Okay, so now you can see what we've got is we've got liquid in there that we can pour off, and that is buttermilk. We'll use that in our biscuits, along with some water, and that lump we've got left in there is our butter. And then we can strain that off and form it and get it in the cooler or get it in an ice box to solidify better. Okay, so buttermilk biscuits. We're going to take 1/3 of a cup, or excuse me, 1/2 of a cup. We only need to make a couple, 3 biscuits here. 1/2 cup of self-rising flour. We're not going to put any salt in this because we're going to use our buttermilk and our actual butter. So instead of cutting lard into this, we're actually going to cut some of this butter that we made into it. So I'll put some of this butter in there and save some for the top of our biscuits. And then get our cutter here. We'll cut that into the flour really good. Our pastry cutter. And once we get that cut in really good, we'll start to add our buttermilk. And to get to the consistency that we need, if we don't have enough buttermilk, we'll add a little bit of water. Once we get this cut in here real good, kind of see where we're at. More buttermilk in there. Once you get to the point where you're adding liquid to this, your pastry cutter is not going to be your best friend anymore. A fork is going to be your best friend. Again, we're not adding any salt to this. We've got salted butter in here. Now, if it looks a little damp to you, once you added all your buttermilk, you can always add a little flour to that. Just put a sprinkle in there. There's about a teaspoon more. Because what we're looking for here is a dough that we can roll out, fold over, things like that, and we're done. Now we're getting pretty close here to what we want. Get this dough out here and get it nice and floured up. Just like that. Now we're gonna pat this out with our hands. We're gonna fold it in on itself, just like that. Fold it over. Pat her down again, make sure we got plenty of flour. Any wet spots need to get flour on them. And we're gonna flatten it out again. This is gonna give us the flaky biscuits right here. Let's flatten it out again. I'm gonna fold it over on itself, fold it over on itself, fold it over on itself. Make sure we got plenty of flour on here. I'm gonna give that one more fold. So we're doing this fold 3 times. So 1, over, and in half. Now, make sure we got plenty of flour on this dude. Now we're gonna get it out to where we wanna get a couple biscuits out of it. So we're gonna get this thing to about a 1/2 inch, excuse me, 1/4 inch thick, about 1/4 inch. Then we'll get a baking rack for a large bush pot. We're gonna cook some of this stuff today over a propane oven. We're gonna cook some of it over an open fire. We'll get to our casserole. We're gonna make that over an open fire. So there's our biscuit. We'll get a old tomato paste can here. Works for a great biscuit cutter. Now they say that you shouldn't twist your biscuit cutter, because when you twist your biscuit cutter, it keeps things from rising correctly. So we're just gonna kind of peel this out from around, pick that dude up and drop him on the rack. A little bit of a tail there, no big deal. And we should have room for at least one more biscuit right here. Probably actually got room for 3, or enough dough, I should say, for 3. And if we do, it's not gonna hurt anything to make 3. We'll just kind of wad this up again real quick and flour it real good. Spread it out a little bit. Cut one more biscuit out of that. Just like that. Call that good. Put that last biscuit on the rack and we're ready to go. Now our biscuits are ready to cook. We can let them sit there for a few minutes, not a big deal. Okay, I've got some water on the boil on one side of this 3-burner oven. This just came off Amazon. I don't even think it had a brand name. It's just a 3-burner camp stove, and it works really, really well out here at the Pathfinder School. You can see it's got 3 different burners on it. We're going to use one of them for our bush pot oven to cook our biscuits, and on the side over here we're going to make some sausage to go in our casserole, and we got some hot water boiling right here for doing dishes. So it all works out really well that way. Like I said, we'll cook the casserole itself out over a fire here in a few minutes. So let's get this burner lit up. Now, one thing that you can do with this, I'm going to show you a little trick here before this gets hot. I'm going to turn this completely 180 degrees like this on this rack or on this burner, leaving this pour spout at the top. And then I'm going to put my lid on before it gets hot to create my convection oven. Now, I've given myself a peephole right here that I can stick a food thermometer in to see what the temperature is of that oven while it's cooking. Okay, while that's cooking, we got some Jamestown brand hot pork sausage here. And I like the hot stuff in my breakfast casserole. So we're gonna take about a quarter of this. Like I said, we're not cooking for 10 people here. We're cooking for me and Zahn, basically. Cook breakfast for a group of people. So we'll just put this right back in the fridge. I should say in the cooler. I don't have a refrigerator plugged in out here, a solar powered one. All I got is a cooler right now. We'll take this over to the skillet and get that cooking. Okay, so we're just browning this sausage right now. And for a couple of reasons. Number one, I want to create a little bit of grease in here for hash brown potatoes. And number two, I want to cook these ingredients before putting them in the Dutch oven, except for the eggs. So that's the only thing in this recipe that has to cook, and it melts the cheese and browns the top of the casserole. So we'll kind of talk about that as we go. But for now, we're cooking our sausage all the way through. And then we'll set it aside, and we'll make some hash brown potatoes in this sausage grease and some butter. Then we're trying to keep the grease, so I'm just trying to get the sausage out of there and keep the grease in the pan. If we get a little bit of sausage mixed in with that grease, it's not a major issue. Doing our multitasking here, we're going to check our biscuits real quick here, see how they're doing. Oh yeah, they're looking good. Okay, the next step here is to grate up some potatoes, and this is another one of those items I say you probably want for your kitchen. Outdoor kitchen or otherwise, but outdoor kitchen, this makes grating cheese and potatoes and things like that, for cabbage, for slaw, all those types of things. Go real easy with something like this. And these things are easy to wash and clean up in hot water. We got any residue on the cutting board here, we can put that in as well. Now, because we've increased the surface area in those potatoes by shredding them, think about starting fire, surface area, all that. These are going to cook a lot quicker, so we're going to, can't get the world's greatest spatula down in there. Well, we'll have to get a spoon. We're going to use, shake some of that out of there, we go. We're going to use a good slathering of this butter and grease to cook these in. And these potatoes are going to take some constant monitoring, because once they soak up that butter and that grease, they're going to want to stick if you're not careful. So just constantly move them around in there. Spread them out, flip them over. Cast iron's easy enough to clean, don't worry about that. Okay, while we're finishing up our potatoes here, I'm checking on the biscuits. You can see they're cracking on the top now, which means they're done, ready to rock and roll. All they need is a little butter on top. All right, once we get those hash browns done, we'll put them in the same container with our sausage and set that aside. Looking real good so far. Okay, we're getting ready to put all of our ingredients together into our oven to cook over the fire. Now, let's have a quick discussion about the difference between a Dutch oven and a camp oven, because we're going to use a camp oven today. And lots of people, and I've probably been guilty of it myself, because you get so used to saying Dutch oven, call a camp oven a Dutch oven. So I'm going to show you. This is a Dutch oven. No legs, no recess on the lid. Lid, 2 handles, big pot, Dutch oven. What we're going to use today, that is commonly miscalled a Dutch oven, is a camp oven. It has 3 legs. It has a lid that's recessed so you can put coals and heat on top of the lid. This is an actual camp oven, not a Dutch oven. What we're going to do today is we're going to hang this by a tripod over the fire to get our initial heat on the bottom. We don't want to get this very close to the coals, because remember, our food is cooked. We're just trying to cook the eggs and kind of seize everything together. Then we want to brown the top. So we're going to keep it above the fire to just warm the bottom. But we're going to put coals from the fire on the top while we're cooking it to brown the top of this. So the one ingredient that we haven't put together yet that we need for this is cheese. I have selected a special cheese for this today. Make sure I didn't say anything wrong. Okay, this is Bunker Hill Bermuda onion cheese. We got spicy sausage in there. We're gonna use hot sauce on this bad boy. We got plenty of heat, but we're gonna add some onion cheese to it to give it that onion flavor as well. We're gonna do the same thing with this cheese. Use a grater that we used our potatoes for. So we'll just get ourselves a quick pocket knife out instead of messing about too much, and we'll cut us a chunk of this off of here. And again, only making this for one person. So we don't need a bucket load of cheese either. So we're gonna use a fairly small piece here. Okay, let's get some cheese grated up here. Again, this grater is the money train for this kind of stuff. Makes it real quick and easy. Just watch the fingers. Again, hot boiling water cleans this stuff up real easy. Just kind of watch our fingers here at the end. Get a couple little chunks, it doesn't matter. Okay, call that more than plenty. Okay, first thing we're gonna do is get our Dutch oven here. And we're gonna use some of this butter that we have left here. Get it out of here, we're just gonna drop it right in the bottom. We're gonna use a rag to spread that around inside. We used all our buttermilk and all our butter today. Don't even have any butter left to butter our biscuits with, but I buttered the tops of them while they were warm. They should still be all right. I'm gonna cheat a little bit here, and I'm gonna use a paper towel to coat the inside of this camp oven with this butter. And this is just gonna help keep anything from sticking to the inside once we get it cooked. And add a little extra butter in there at the same time. All right. Trash can under here. Now we're ready to add the ingredients. So, what we have here, we have our biscuits for after the fact. Put those aside for a minute. We have potatoes, we have sausage, and we need eggs. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna take a couple eggs. We're gonna break one in the sausage. We're gonna break one into the potatoes. Just like that. And we're gonna mix those up. Pour a sausage and egg in this one. We could have put both eggs in one container, it wouldn't have mattered, but I guess I was just being overcritical there or something, I don't know. I want to get these eggs good and beat into here and mixed into all this really, really good. Just like this. So we got potatoes, sausage, and eggs here. Once we get that mixed up, we're going to pour that right in the bottom of the camp oven. And we only need enough to cover the bottom of the camp oven because we're not, again, cooking for 10 people. We're cooking for ourselves. But we don't want any bare spots in there. So as we're kind of spreading that around in there, we want to make sure that we cover the bottom completely, thoroughly. And then we could do one or two things here, and just a couple schools of thought, but you can put your cheese in there now and start cooking it. Or you could cook it for 10 minutes or so to get everything nice and cohesively bound up and the eggs cook good. Then you can add the cheese when you put the heat on top to kind of melt the cheese down in there and brown everything. I think that's what we're gonna do. So we'll set this cheese aside for a minute. We'll take this bad boy over to the fire. We gotta set up a tripod first, then we're gonna start cooking. Okay, you can see we got a fire started here. We got 3 tripod poles. We've got the new Pathfinder Tripod Kit. We'll talk about that when we set up our tripod here in just a second. Let this burn down for a few and we'll get that set up and I'll show you how it works. Okay, so this leather pouch has got the Pathfinder Tripod Kit in it. There are several of these kits like this on the market. A few of them come with a leather pouch. We chose this to put our logo on to go with our stainless steel line of goods that are being sold in several retail locations, especially overseas. And basically it's 2 components. You have one steel piece here that's fairly thin but heavy duty gauge steel. It's got 3 about 1 1/4 inch, 1.5 inch holes in it. One hole in the center that's smaller, about 3/4 of an inch. You have a chain with a hook and basically a key on this side. And so once you put your poles through this, you pull your chain to the length you want it to be with the hook on the bottom. And you just put that key across the chain link and that keeps it in place, and you can adjust it from the top up and down. You get yourself 3 poles that are approximately the same size and will fit a little bit loose inside these holes so that you can manipulate them around and give yourself a little bit of stick up there once you put them inside. That's step 1. Step 2 is to stand this up, and you're going to have 1 pole going backwards and 2 that cross. And you're just going to spread this out to the point where you've got the amount of stick up that you want and everything is held by friction. Just like that. Now you have a tripod. Move this over a little bit. We'll put this over the fire. This is what we'll cook over. Or cook on, excuse me. Kind of knock this fire down just a little bit here. We're gonna need some of these coals in a little while, so right now we need bottom heat. So, we're going to get our chain, put it up through to the height we want it. And remember, we can adjust this after the fact. So we'll pull it up fairly high to begin with. And we don't want a lot of flame heat here. So we're gonna knock these flames down. I do need the coals. I need some coals for the top here in a few minutes. I'm just kind of letting that burn down to coals. But while I'm doing that, it's not gonna hurt anything to heat the bottom of that. Remember, we've only got 2 eggs in there and the rest of the components are cooked. It's not gonna take a long period of time for that to cook. And we can always kind of check it and look at it. It's not a big deal. It's easy enough to take that off the chain or take the lid off and have a peek. Now, the cool thing about this is if I think I'm getting a little hot, maybe I'm a little close to the heat, I can just pull the pin and lift it up. Put the pin a couple lengths up higher, let it go. Okay, we're also gonna make a French press pot of coffee. I got some Jim Beam cinnamon stick coffee here. We're gonna make it in a French press today, so we're gonna get this water heated up over by the fire where our camp oven's at. All right, get a couple of heaping tablespoons here of Jim Beam cinnamon stick in there. Get her on the fire. All right, our fire's died down a little bit now. Let's kind of take a look at this, see what we got going on here. Oh man, look at that. Holy cow, that thing is just cooking up so nice. Okay, we're about, I see white where the eggs are at, so only a couple of minutes and put cheese on that bad boy. Our coffee's about to boil. We're in good shape. Now we'll take it off the fire and set it to the side here, put coals on top of it once we put the cheese in. Lift that dude up out of the hook, set him over here on the side, pull off our lid. We're gonna put the cheese in here on the top of this dude. Spread that out really good. Then put our lid back on, get our shovel and get some coals on top of this dude. We don't need to cook it anymore at the bottom. Now we want to concentrate on the top. We'll break up some of these coals over here. They're in the fire. Not knocking our coffee over if we can. And we'll get some coals right on top of this dude. Just like this. No ash. We want coals, not ash. If we can help it. Okay. Now we're just gonna let that sit for about 10 minutes while our coffee's finishing up. Then we'll be ready to rock and roll. Right, we should be in pretty good shape now. Those coals have kind of turned white on top of there. Kind of scrape those dudes off. Then we'll get in our food. We'll be cognizant of how we pick up this lid. Make sure that we kind of pick it straight up. Just like that. Look at that, man. Ooh-wee. Look at that casserole. We just got a little bit of a piece of ash in there. Get that dude out of there, just like that. I think we are good. Time to head to the table. Okay, let's open the Dutch oven here. We've got it over here on a trivet. Probably cooled down enough now that we can put it on the table. See what this looks like. Yeah, man, look at that. Just perfectly stuck together. Not burned at all on the bottom. There's the bottom of it. Look at that. It's perfect. Perfect, perfect. Gonna get this out of our way for a minute. Set it back on the trivet. Now, look at these biscuits. Oh man, look at that. Perfect, perfect biscuits. Look at those things. Man, oh man. Look at that. Wow. Okay, we need some honey for those bad boys. And we got some 1867 pepper sauce, handcrafted, made in the USA by Underwood Ranchers. And then we got our Jim Beam cinnamon coffee. Get our French press lid lined up. Push that boy down to the bottom. Pour ourselves a nice cup. Oh man, look at that. Golly, you kidding? Woo-wee, son. All right. See what we got going on here. Nice hot cup of coffee there. First things first. A little hot sauce on the breakfast. A little certified heat going on here. Woo! Some raw, Nate's 100% raw, pure, unfiltered honey right here. We're gonna put on this biscuit. Break one of these dudes open. We haven't broke open yet. It's pretty flaky. Don't break open very easy because they cooled down on me now. They're not as hot as they were. We've kind of been cooking in stages here all morning. That's okay. We'll make a honey sandwich out of that bad boy. Heck fire. Look at that. Bam. Oh man. Buttermilk biscuit. Woo! This casserole's got going on. Oh man. Woo! That's money. Oh yeah. Bam. Yeah. That's good stuff right there. That's a lot of work to go through for one person and a cat, obviously, but especially on a 90-degree day. But if you're cooking in a group camp or for your family, well worth it. Because it tastes fantastic. Well. That coffee smells just like Jim Beam and cinnamon. And it tastes phenomenal. Man, that might be the greatest thing since the 10 C's right there. Oh, that's good. Wow. That's amazing. Amazing coffee. Zion, back up in here. I think he took off to go hunting a few minutes ago. I haven't seen him come back, but I'll leave some out for him. If he's not back by the time I clean up. Guys, I appreciate you joining me out for breakfast today. Kind of a long, drawn-out process to make a nice breakfast casserole. Some homemade buttermilk biscuits with homemade buttermilk and butter. And then a new Jim Beam coffee I've been trying out. All of this stuff was fantastic. That hot sauce is phenomenal. I'm trying to kind of integrate some new products that I pick up. This is not stuff people give me for free. I go buy this stuff. So, but I'm buying it because I want to try different flavors of hot sauces, different types of coffee, different types of pop. And I want to show them to you on camera and kind of let you get a glimpse of them in case you're interested in going and buying them. You can't just buy this stuff any place. I buy it, you know, at tourist stops, at jungle gyms, places that carry lots and lots of different varieties of non-American type foods. And then I buy them at specialty shops. So I shop all over for this stuff. It's not necessarily something you're going to find on Amazon. It's not stuff that I'm being sponsored to say, hey, great, look at this hot sauce. It's fantastic. None of that. It's just stuff that I'm trying that I want to introduce you to and show you in case you're interested in looking for that brand. Looking up on the internet and find out where you can buy it or something like that. I don't get anything out of it, and I really don't care. It's not what it's all about. What it's all about is trying new things. It's all about cooking. It's all about self-reliance. And it's all about an enjoyable video for you guys. So I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, for our business, all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends. And I'll be back with another video in this series as soon as I can, guys. Thanks.